Well then, let us speak of the hour when speaking ceases to help. Some of you know that hour. The clock advances, the light lowers in the room, and yet the mind ascends. Plans repeat themselves like a broken record. Old injuries replay in brighter color, and fear, not content with a whisper, puts its hand upon the throat. You have talked to it. You have reasoned with it. You have bargained with it one more list, one more explanation, one more promise to do better tomorrow, and still it stands there, unmoved. The mind that cannot be talked down has no ear for more words. What then? When words stop working, what then? We do what Scripture has always told us and what experience at last confirms: be still and know that I am God. Not talk stillness, be still. Not entertain God, know God. This is the turning from words to presence, from chatter to the word behind words. It is not another technique, it is release. It is the inward laying down of arms. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Do you hear? Rest is not in the reasoning, rest is in the presence. But how does the heart stand before God in that hour? Without projects, without bargaining, without demands. We do not come to transact. No, no. We do not say, if you will still this mind, I will serve you better tomorrow. We do not attempt to bribe the infinite with improved performance. We come empty, the way a child lays down a burden it never had strength to carry. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. Desireless receptivity. A cup turned upward, not grabbing at the pitcher, for the sake of our humanity, for the gentling of this transition. We are given one sentence, not to work a result, not to push away fear, not to manage tomorrow, but to escort us from sound into silence. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let it be on your breath without effort, not as a spell, not as leverage, as truth long known by the soul. Say it once and let it echo. Whisper it and let it whisper itself. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Keep this playing tonight as a lullaby of remembrance. Do not use it to get anything at all. Use is the wrong word. Let it play you. Let it carry you like a tide carries a leaf. If the mind returns to fret, do not scold it, just incline again. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. This hour is not a wrestling, it is a yielding. I and my Father are one, absent from the body, present with the Lord. I am not in the physical. I am resting where rest originates. And as you turn from words to presence, feel the hush beneath even this sentence, as if the Spirit itself is completing it for you. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Enough for this breath, enough for this night, enough for the fear that need not be answered, only outshone. Be still and know. Now, for the night watch, let us be simple and kind with ourselves. Choose a place where the body can be forgotten. If it is a chair, let it be low enough that the thighs rest easily. A small cushion at the lower back, if that helps. Feet on the floor without pressure. If it is a bed, recline with the spine supported and the head just high enough that the neck is not working. There is no occult reason for any of this, only the mercy of ease. We are not invoking a posture to summon God. No, we are only easing the body so it will cease asking for attention. Close the eyes gently, as if you were closing a book you love and will open again in the morning. Let the hands rest where they do not need to hold anything on the lap, at the sides, open, unposed. Unclench the jaw, release the brow, let the tongue fall where it will. No strain, not a bit. If a yawn comes, let it come. If a sigh comes, let it come. Do not make a yawn. Do not make a sigh. We are not arranging the breath. We are not commanding the lungs. We are not ordering the heart to be still. Be still and know that I am God. State your quiet intent not to get sleep, not to get rid of fear, but to withdraw attention from the body so that consciousness may turn Godward. In this position, with eyes closed, I am virtually unaware of having a body. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. Where is the eye that watches this breathing? Where is the eye that hears the room? Here? There? No. No. I am not in the physical. The true I is spiritual. In him we live and move and have our being. Now the boundaries for safety and for purity. We do not picture lights, colors, or vistas. We do not push images on the mind. We do not count breath or hold it. We do not repeat a word to force a state. We wait. Desireless receptivity. The door is not opened by pressure from our side. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. So we knock by resting. We stand before the presence without a project. Let one sentence be near, not as leverage, but as recognition. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If thought wanders to the body, an itch, a throb, a clock, do not wrestle. Notice and return to the simple remembrance. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Keep this playing tonight, softly, within or without, a gentle bell calling you back whenever the mind begins to manufacture, not to get anything, to remember what already is. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Let that be the feel, led, not pushing, yielded, not managing. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. And as the instrument, I do not tune myself by force. I rest and let the great musician set the pitch. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. So the body is comfortable. Now let it recede. The watch begins in quiet, desireless receptivity, and the heart turns home. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When I say I, how will you localize that? Here, there, in a rib, in the skull? No, no. When I say I, you instinctively look for a point to pin it to the chest, the throat, the brow, but before you can fasten it, it vanishes your pin and remains where it always has been, unpinned. The sense of I that beholds, that witnesses, that listens to the tick and the silence between ticks. Where will you put it? If you say it is in the heart, then when the heart rests at night, do you vanish? If you say it is in the brain, then when the thought stops, who knows the stopping? No, no. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. This is not denial of a body. It is the correction of identity. The body is given its mercies and its blankets, but the eye that knows God is not wrapped in flesh. The life is more than meat and the body than raiment. The true I is spiritual, non-local, present with the Lord, where latitude, longitude, and street address are of no account. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. They have found organs, vessels, memory traces. Yes, but not the owner. The owner is not owned by matter. The temple is holy, but the holiness is not a wall, not a valve, not a nerve. In him we live and move and have our being. Now see how fear works its trade. Fear fastens its hook to a place, this chest, this room, this tomorrow on the calendar, and says, you are here, and here you are vulnerable. It leans on pulse and prognosis. It counts hours and assigns outcome. But when the anchor of identity is lifted out of locality, fear has nothing to grip. Perfect love casteth out fear, because love reveals the real I, ungraspable by time, unthreatened by distance. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. With thee where? Not in a rib, not behind the eyes, with thee in spirit, which knows no confinement. So at night, when the pulse taps like a messenger, when the room magnifies its shadows, when tomorrow tries to stand at the door with a list, do not argue with them. Let the body be cared for, and then let it recede. Remember, I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Whisper it if you must until it whispers itself. And let the soft password return you to sufficiency, not as defense, but as recognition. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace is my sufficiency because I am not enclosed in matter that must be propped or defended. Thy grace is my sufficiency because the I that I am is hid with Christ in God, not housed in cartilage. This is not an achievement. It is an unveiling. You are not making yourself spiritual. You are ceasing to pretend you are local. You are not stretching your soul to reach God. You are discovering that in my conscious oneness with God, there is no span to cross. I and my Father are one. When that truth is permitted, a corner of your consent, fear loosens. When consent deepens, fear disappears. Then you do not take hold of God to keep safe. You allow God to be God, and you rest as the instrument. God is the actor, you the witness and transparency. Therefore, as the watch continues, do not chase away fear, dislodge its anchor. Let the identity that fear tries to clutch dissolve from its fingers. Be still and know. Keep the remembrance near, not as magic, but as homecoming. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And in that sufficiency, be where you truly are present with the Lord, while the night, unthreatened, grows quiet. Now we come to the still moment that ends the search without ending the night. I speak of the click. Not a sound in the ear, not a thrill in the nerves, not a light on the eyelids. The click is the quiet recognition that I and the Father are one. It is the end of reaching and the beginning of resting. You are not making it happen. You are discovering that it is already the case. The kingdom of God is within you. Within where? Not within ribs and sinews, within awareness, within spirit. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. How do we meet it? Not by will, not by system, not by hurrying the eternal. We wait in receptivity. We do not summon. We do not command. We do not time the click with a watch. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. Let the sentence be near as a gentle companion. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. It wants to say and speak and do, but without words, without effort, without personal will. If mind tries to help, thank it and let it sit down. If the senses ask for a report, smile and give them none. We are not producing God. We are consenting to God. Be still and know. At first, it is like the room dimming one step. Thought continues to tap at the door, but the ear is turning inward. Then, scarcely noticed, a certainty stands where questions were. Not an excitement, a certainty. A weight that is not heavy. A warmth that is not heat. A knowing that has no object. I and my Father are one. In that instant, the heart stops petitioning and begins witnessing. I am not in the physical. I am not climbing to God. I find that God has been the ground upon which my very knowing has rested. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. You see what that means? Without extending yourself, you are in communion with the whole of the one life, not because you reached across distance, but because distance does not exist in the one, the neighbor you love, the enemy you feared, the future you dreaded. These are ideas returning to their source in the same light that now illumines you. In him we live and move and have our being. And so the strain to cause good ceases, The impulse to manage outcomes fades. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. The instrument does not bristle. It abides in tune. If tonight the click seems not to come, do not turn it into a project. Projects belong to time. Union belongs to God. Wait softly. Wait kindly. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it once, and let the Spirit finish the sentence. Allow the prayer to pray itself. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Keep the hands of the mind open. You will find, either now or as you wake into the middle watch, that the certainty has taken its seat within you, and you are not trying to believe, you are simply being what is true. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. And in that, the night no longer requires your management. It invites your rest. Now the sentence that has been near becomes the password at the door. Not magic syllables, not leverage, not a coin pressed into God's hand to purchase a result. A password because it admits us not into something new, but into what is already here. My grace is sufficient for thee, says the Scripture. Your heart answers in the language of consent. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. It does not press. It does not bargain. It reminds. It returns consciousness to the country of already, where nothing is missing and nothing is being made to appear. We are not manufacturing supply. We are discovering sufficiency. Say it as you would speak to a beloved in the night, unhurried, without strain, letting each word find its own place. Thy pause, grace pause is pause, my pause, sufficiency pause in all things. Let the breath fall where it falls. Let the syllables ride on a river that moves of itself. Do not whip the river. No. No. We are not chanting to make a condition. We are consenting to a condition that eternally is. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If the mind asks how many times, smile and answer. Once is eternal, and I will say it again only to remember eternity. Here is the ethic of the password. We do not use God to get outcomes. We yield outcomes to God and rest in sufficiency. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Sleep is not our God. Relief is not our God. Sensation is not our God. God alone is God. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. The instrument does not perform the music by will. It is played upon by grace. Therefore, the sentence is not a tool in my hand. It is a name that opens the hand and leaves it empty, ready. When a worry returns, and it will present itself like a petitioner at the gate, do not argue. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Give a soft answer. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If the petitioner says, but what of tomorrow? You do not debate calendars. You offer the password again, gently in love. If the body taps, if a list unfurls, do not tug at it. Bow within, and let the password return you to the door that is already open. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. In truth, the knock is your remembrance, and the opening is the was of God. As the breaths pass, let the words thin. Let them fade like twilight fading to night, while the knowing remains. When the syllables dissolve, sufficiency does not dissolve. It is the ground under the silence. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, the sentence becomes a hush, the hush becomes awareness, and awareness rests where it has always rested in God. If the mind reaches again for sound, give it the soft gift once more. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then let even that be carried away on the still water. Enough has been said for the night to remember what the soul never forgot. In the hush, law stands. Not a rule written by men, not a custom, not a mood, a law as impersonal and certain as the morning. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. One God, one source, no fear gods, no outcome gods, no clock gods, not the God of symptoms, not the God of headlines, not the God of tomorrow's calendar. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. When that is so in consciousness, the night ceases to be a battlefield of competing powers and becomes a sanctuary of one presence. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Do not mistake this for preference. It is principle. If you violate 2 times 2 is 4, you do not anger arithmetic, you collapse your computation. If you build a bridge and ignore the load-bearing law, the bridge does not punish you, it falls. It is the same with a traffic law. Cross against the light and the penalty is in the crossing. So with cosmic law, as you sow, so shall ye reap. When we enthrone lesser powers, time, result, sensation, we reap unrest, because we have departed from the one principle of sufficiency. When we keep the law, one God, we find rest keeping us. Be still and know that I am God. Then the twin of that first commandment comes to stand beside it, not as decoration, but as enforcement. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, not sentiment, law. Love is not a feeling we cultivate. It is an obedience that widens identity until self-preoccupation dissolves. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. At night, anxiety circles a small self. Love opens the circle until neighbor and self are found in one, life. In my conscious oneness with God, I cannot covet your peace or fear your gain, for my oneness constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. When I want nothing you have, and you want nothing I have, there is no conflict to agitate the watch. There is only sharing in the one. Now a gentle warning, and take it as protection. Do not tamper with a cosmic law for selfish ends. It is a double-edged sword. Use prayer to secure an advantage, and the edge returns to its wielder. Try to project thought to shape another's conduct, and you have stepped outside the law into self-will. You violate 2 times 2 is 4 in spirit, and the structure of your own peace collapses. I hope you will never try to do it. I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts because God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. We do not use this night practice to bend events. We release events to God. So if a worry arises for a child, a partner, a stranger on a distant shore, do not send power. Do not arrange outcomes. Hold them in the one Father into thy hand. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things for me and for my neighbor. Perfect love casteth out fear, because love refuses to enthrone a second power. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. We rest in impersonal law, and the law keeps watch more faithfully than our eyes could. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. In my oneness with God, I find that safety is not scarce and not personal. It is shared. It is universal. It is already. Nothing to take, only to share. Nothing to manage, only to consent. And consent sounds like this: tonight and always, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now, when law has taken its stand in consciousness, the hands come off the wheel. Hear me gently and take it as safety. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Say it once and let it say itself. God is the actor, I am the instrument. The instrument does not strain to invent a melody. It yields to the musician. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. In this watch I do not try to make harmony, I consent to harmony, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. When the will reaches to arrange, I let it unclasp. When the mind plans the night, I let it sit down, be still, and know. For this reason, I never give human advice. Do not come to this practice to decide for another, to direct another, to shape another's path. I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts because God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. I hope you will never try to project yourself anywhere. No, no. You are not a projector, you are a transparency. We refuse mental pushing. We refuse the subtle itch to send currents, to outline outcomes, to coax events by imagination. That is not prayer. That is interference. Lead us not into temptation. Do not tamper with what belongs to God. As you sow, so shall ye reap. When will and method take the throne, unrest is the harvest. When God alone is God, rest keeps the watch. What then is our doing? It is not a doing, it is a letting. Live thou thy life in me. Fulfill thyself as me. Not my outline, thine. Not my scheme, thine. Into thy hands I commit my spirit. I do not present a list for execution. I present an emptiness for occupation. Here is the technique, if you wish to call surrender a technique. Give up the technique. Let the sentence that belongs to this night return, very soft, very near, without leverage and without price. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, enough for this breath, enough for this hour, enough for this sleep. If thought asks, what about the problem? Do not wrestle. Offer the password and drop it like a feather into the silence. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. The instrument does not bristle when the room is noisy. It is quiet inside its wood. So if the senses report, let them report. We are not using this awareness to get signs. We are letting God be God without demand. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. If a plan surfaces, bow and let it pass unadopted. If an urge to help by force arises, bless it and let it go. We are not under compulsion to make good, we are under grace to witness good. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, we settle back into function, a transparency through which love does its own seeing, its own acting, its own being. Now rest the case with the one. No outlining, no managing, no interference, only consent. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And as the words thin, let willingness remain like a steady flame until the night covers you with its peace and the musician plays what he will. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Now and then a letter comes from the night watch, simple, unadorned, with the very fragrance of quiet upon it. As I kept it playing, fear ebbed. No thunder, only quiet sufficiency. Do you hear the truth in that? No thunder, no fire, and after the fire a still, small voice. Not sensation, sufficiency. Not drama, presence. This is the way of spirit. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Assurance rises where commotion falls, not by our stirring, but by our stilling. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Another writes, I awoke as if seen by love. No technique, just the click and deep rest. No technique, the click conscious oneness arriving as certainty, not as fireworks. I did not send myself to them. I did not work on them. Presence did what presence does. Understand this for your safety and for mine. I was not projecting thought. I was not hovering over their bed. I was in my place, absent from the body, present with the Lord, consenting to God as God. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. When the instrument is quiet, The musician plays in ways the instrument never imagines. Across years of practice, I have read this same sentence written 1,000 ways. Sometimes it speaks of a problem forgotten, sometimes of a burden that proves to have no bearer, sometimes only of a dawn that feels unreasonably kind. Different words, same pattern. When self is still, grace is evident. Not because silence hypnotizes, but because in stillness we hear what never stopped speaking. Be still and know that I am God. Again and again the witness returns. Not a thrill, a knowing, not a sign, a presence, not a push, a peace. He giveth his beloved sleep. Let me guard you here. Do not measure God by sensation. Sensations are weather. The law is climate. You violate a traffic law and the penalty is in the violation. You honor the law and safety is its own reward. So with the night. Obedience and receptivity are the open door. If you chase lights and tremors, you will have exchanged the one God for another God experience. No, no. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. Believe not as a strain, but as a resting in what is thy grace, is my sufficiency in all things. From these letters I do not draw a method, I hear a melody. The melody says, relinquish method, obey the one, love thy neighbor, be quietly receptive, and watch. And when assurance comes, it is not a shout in the nerves, it is a seat taken in consciousness. The heart knows without argument, as if the room grew larger by removing its walls. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. There is nothing to get, only sufficiency to recognize. So tonight, do not wait for a sign. Wait upon the Lord. Do not test the current. Consent to the river. If a letter were to be written from your pillow before the morning, let it read like this. I rested without plan. I asked for nothing, and I found everything already given. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now the melody gathers itself into one simple hymn, and the heart begins to say what mind cannot improve. In my oneness with God, I find my completeness, nothing missing, nothing broken, not a piece to chase, not a flaw to mend, not a future to fill in. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Want is absence, completeness is presence. I am not in the physical. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, I discover that wholeness is not an attainment, it is recognition. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, and that oneness is entire. In my oneness with God, I find my security, no other power, no other cause. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. One source, one law, one life. The fear of second powers fades because there are none. The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Security does not come by fortifying a perimeter. It comes by ceasing to believe in rival forces. No, no. We do not enthrone symptom, schedule, storm, or rumor. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. The instrument is safe not because it guards itself, but because it belongs to the musician who never loses his own. In my oneness with God, I find my peace. No argument, no intruder, no rival presence. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Peace is not the hush after a negotiation. It is the absence of a second will. Where there is only one, what is there to dispute? When I love my neighbor as myself, there is no edge against which to grind. Identity widens until there is nothing outside to fear. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. And the argument ends before it begins. In my oneness with God, I find my joy unborrowed, unthreatened, unopposed. not the rise and fall of excitement, but the steady gladness of life knowing itself. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Joy that does not depend on the body to sparkle and therefore does not dim when the senses grow quiet. Joy that is presence recognizing presence. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. The heart smiles without a reason because reason himself indwells. And then the synthesis, the simple truth that erases strain. All that the Father hath is flowing right up through here. Therefore I rest. Not a trickle, a fullness. Not from afar, from within. All things that the Father hath are mine. In this conscious oneness, inheritance is not a promise, it is an is. Guidance is. Supply is. Protection is. Love is. I ask nothing because nothing is lacking. I manage nothing because everything real moves by its own law, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. So I let the sentence that knows this night seal what God has already spoken. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. I say it softly, and it says itself. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Slower now and nearer. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thinner now, like a thread that leads into silence. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Until words have no work, and peace has all the work, and the night is not to be managed, but to be received. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now we keep this playing, not by effort, but by consent. Let it go on without you holding it, the way a lullaby continues even after the singer's lips have ceased to move. If the mind wants to help, let it sit down. If the body reports, let it be cared for, and then let it recede. We are not going to argue with fear. We are not going to fix conditions. We are not going to strive. No, only receptivity, only presence. Only the simple sentence laying itself down like a quiet blanket over consciousness. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If you turn in the night, if the pillow asks for a new coolness, do not reach for a problem, reach for remembrance. Let the first awareness be God, not calendar, not pulse, not plan. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it once softly and be done. Or if it wishes, let it say itself again and again thinner until it is only the hush beneath your breathing. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. There is nothing to drive away. There is nothing to attract. There is only consent to what is. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He giveth his beloved sleep. Across the city, a nurse closes a chart and leans into the midnight corridor. Across the sea, a sailor listens to water press the hull. In a farmhouse, a child rolls toward a stuffed bear and forgets the day. Different rooms, one presence. We do not send power. We do not project thought. We do not outline their nights. God is the actor. We are merely the instruments. And sometimes the instrument rests in silence while the musician plays everywhere. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, and in that oneness we do not interfere, we bear witness. Love thy neighbor as thyself, which at night sounds like this. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things for me, for you, for all. Now receive the blessing, not from me, not from a method, but from the Father within who doeth the works. May the Father within you do the blessing, measureless and exact in ways I will not and dare not outline. I never give human advice. I offer only this surrender. Into thy hands I commit my spirit, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And as that peace settles, We do not test it, we do not time it. We rest in it. Be still and know. So the benediction becomes simple and sufficient. Thy grace is my sufficiency tonight. Thy grace is my sufficiency tomorrow. Thy grace is my sufficiency always. If a thought rises, let the sentence meet it and both sink into silence. If no thought rises, let silence be your prayer. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. And so it is. And I thank you